Good morning. Today we're going to look at the southeast section of the grove, which is right here. It's a little bit smaller area, so this video shouldn't take as long as the northeast section. So we'll come up to the first row, which is the most western row of this section, and work our way on each row from the fence to the driveway, which is going from south to north. Here's the first row. So this first tree is Tess Pollock. It's actually a cross probably between Kerry and Turpentine mango, and it is starting to produce the first fruit of the year for it. They color up, unlike Kerry, and so they're easy to tell when they're ready to pick. Here we have a little canistel tree, and you see little canistel flowers there. Here's a Kerry tree. So I'll just go over to this tree over here, which is Tess Pollock, and you can see that the shape of the fruit is very similar to the Kerry. And again, confusing weather year, we have Kerry that's almost ready to pick, very small Kerry, and Kerry bloom there. This is another Kerry tree right next to it. These trees are planted fairly close together because we used to grow big potted plants on the other side of them, so it was a windscreen. Anyway, this is Madame Francis, or Mango Francique, one of the most popular mangoes from Haiti. This is Gary mango. Gary Zill named it after himself because he liked it so much. Has a coconut flavor, possibly a cross between Pettigrew and Kerry. Here's Nam Dak Mai. And right next to it, yep, that's on this tree, the Nam Dak Mai that has only small fruit and not very many of it. Then we have, this is the only mango that was here in this part of the grove when we moved in 1999. It's a kit tree. We've been pruning it over the years, cutting out central leaders, so that's why it's not really huge. But I'm guessing this tree would be about 35 years old. And as you might be able to tell, there is absolutely no fruit or flowers on the tree yet. Oh, I did see two panicles actually of small fruit. That was 3. So there's just a little bit on this side of the tree, but mostly we're just seeing the empty panicles from last year's crop. It's all dead. This is a Valencia Pride. We have some Jaboticaba here. No fruit or flowers at this point. It's Cary mango. Small fruit and larger fruit. And flowers. Cary. This is Valencia Pride. Same situation as in the northeast section of the grove. Quite a lot of fruit set for the later bloom. And a pretty good early bloom crop too. Some more Cary. Flowers, young fruit. A little bit of larger fruit on this side. Here's one of the trees that I've grafted over to another variety. What it is now is fruit punch. So hopefully next year we'll get a nice crop from this. This tree here is Alfonso. Normally a very shy bearer in Florida. But we have a lot of young fruit, the bottom part of this tree, pretty much on the top too. Not as much on this north side of the tree. Here's a seedling from a tree that used to be here that we grafted over to several varieties. We have dwarf Hawaiian. Oh, that's not going to be very meaningful. That's just a very small shoot. Lemon zest is this one. See what we have here. Looks like another lemon zest. Needs another tag. We have Mulgoba. That's lemon zest. Yeah, Mulgoba's on here though. Yep, there we go. Rather small branch. And this other branch over here is lemon zest. Mostly a lemon zest tree, which is excellent. And we have some other seedlings from that tree that used to be here. This I just grafted a few months ago, actually. Put Venus on this, and I happen to have 3 pieces of graft wood that were the size for this plant, and so I put them all on the same plant and all of them took. So I have 3 different ones here. You can see the graft a little bit easier that way, I think. But this was right over here was the part that I cut off after the graft took, and here's that graft. The only other one of these little trees that I've grafted so far is this one, which is Providence. So that's a little smaller tree. And this is turpentine. There's a little, for the big trees, I get tree companies in to trim them, and there was a little miscommunication on how I wanted this one trimmed, but it's all good. This tree has a lot of small fruit. It's at a much later crop than the one on the other side of the property, the northeast section. Which is good because we'll have a longer season for that. Alright, let's get going down the row again. This first tree here is coconut cream. See, it's had a pretty good crop for this size tree. This is Kent. I set way too much fruit on those panicles over there and here. And the rest of the tree doesn't have flowers. It's another Kent tree. There's fruit on the top. Right here is a Duncan tree. All those clusters of mangoes there. And again, this is planted very closely, these trees in this area, because we used to have the large potted plants and we needed a windscreen for them. Here's Carrie right next to the Duncan. And we have flowers. And up in the top of the tree, some larger fruit. Some larger fruit down here. Another project tree. This used to be Pimsang Mun. We have a couple other Pimsang Mun trees, and this one always produced smaller fruit than the others, so it was time to convert it. This section of the tree right here is all Kerry mango, and that was the first to be grafted, and the rest of the tree is Promchimea. And if everything takes, it should be completely grafted right now. Sometimes you get little sucker coming out. We really don't need competition. We'll just take that off. I'm hoping for this graft here to take. Also, I don't see any reason to have these new shoots. They only take energy from the tree for about 45 days. So I'd rather that energy to go to this here, and hopefully that will take also. Here's another test pollock. We've got few larger fruit, some smaller fruit. Not a lot of fruit set on this tree for a test pollock because I trimmed the heck out of it because we had a request for Madame Blanc, and I figured I'd put the Madame Blanc on this tree, and unfortunately it took forever for this graft to start growing. This is Madame Blanc here, and I'll cut this back as soon as these leaves get mature. This over here is also Madame Blanc. I think I put these on in August. It was a long time ago, and they are just taking a long time to leaf out. It's still green, so there's hope. It's just that it's taking a long time. Those two were the first grafts I put on the tree, but now these are newer ones here. And I'm hoping they take a lot more quickly than those first ones. Eventually this will be cut off, and you see this is not a good section of the tree. We cut off a branch, and sometimes it does this where it will rot. So it's always good to just cut back from that. So eventually we'll cut back right around here. But I want to wait for this side of the tree to grow, the one that I've put these grafts on. And so after the mango season this year, after these test pollock are finished, then we'll cut this final branch off. Okay, so this next tree here is Duncan, and you might be able to see this. That is a bunch of fallen Duncan fruit because this one branch had so much on it that the branch broke. So I think you can see where it is up there in that crotch. This is a longan tree, which is definitely rooted into the ground. That's a 100-gallon pot, and this is a huge tree for that size pot. And we have a lemon meringue. Have some small fruit and some larger fruit. And again, not much happening on the north side of the tree. Here's the other side of that big turpentine tree. Used to be bigger, now it just has a huge trunk. Turpentine, of course, makes a great rootstock for mango trees. It also is a delicious fruit, despite what Wikipedia says. Wikipedia says that it tastes like turpentine, and that's why it's named that. Nothing could be further than the truth, from the truth. It's a seedling of turpentine that's just was growing in a place we didn't need another turpentine, so of course graft it over. So this is a new graft. You see that up here is the new shoot, and right next to it is an older graft right in here. This is another case of grafting Promkybia into this section of the grove. This tree right next door is Glen. So there's a Glen that I'll come back and pick when I have a cart to put the fruit in. But yeah, we're starting to get some Glen from this side of the grove anyway. This tree used to be Jewel, which was a very pretty fruit, but didn't have much flavor, so of course grafting it over to other varieties. We put mostly Best on here, but some Juliet also. And here's a red sugar apple. Doesn't look like much this time of year, but in late July we usually get fruit from that. Another Glen. Yeah, some more Glen to pick. We went through every tree yesterday morning and Friday, and this time of year there's always something to pick. And again, we have some little tiny fruit on the trees. This is also Glen, but very little of the big fruit on that. We had about 3 trees with a fair amount of the early fruit set, and then these have very little. It's mostly this more recent fruit set. This last tree has next to no fruit on it. I see these 2 here. This is also Glen. This is another lemon meringue. Lower branches here dying out because all the energy is going to the top of the tree. Not a lot of fruit on this one. So here's some more Carrie. There's a small fruit. And like about 3 larger fruit. Here and up there. Another Carrie. Flowers emerging. Young fruit there. And a little bit older fruit there. This area right here used to be a large jacarda tree, which suddenly died. So here's a couple of possible replacement trees. Here, just direct seeded some mango into this area. We have one that's, the weed is the star performer, of course, here, but one seedling right here, and then this one over here. Once those get a little bit bigger, we'll graft some new variety onto that. Have a tree. It sort of is easier for me to just seed things into the ground and whatever survives use, because that way I don't have to hand water it until it gets established. This is Carrie again, and flowers and fruit, and young fruit. And lemon meringue. This tree is like 25 feet apart, 20 feet apart from the last lemon meringue at the end of the row. And this one has quite a bit more fruit on it. This is Valencia Pride. This one branch has quite a bit of fruit. Top of the tree is mostly the young fruit, very small. Our last cherry tree on this section of the grove. Here's another tree that I've converted. This is all fruit punch also. So one of the last grafts I did, I was trying to get something on this section to help heal the wound, and this was quite a long shoot, and I was grafting toward the top of it, and the grafts would take, but then they would die back, so I just went toward the base of it, and this one finally took. And we've got a few more coming over here. This one, of course, is taken, and this one is just little leaves emerging. So next year should be a good fruit punch year. Here's another red sugar apple tree. Again, this is a late July fruit, and there's usually another crop in December, January, but much smaller. And another lemon meringue tree. Got a lot of small fruit on this one. Lemon meringue just never looks real good when it's fruiting. After it finishes fruiting, it tends to bounce back and look like a prettier tree. I don't see any of the larger fruit on this tree. This is another Valencia Pride tree. Pretty much the same story. Looks like a good season. Valencia Pride tends to alternate bear. It will have a strong year and then a weak year. This is definitely qualifying as a strong year. This is a Kent. Just isn't growing as fast as it should. I planted it a little bit, I don't know if we can see this or not, a little bit deeper than the surrounding area, hoping that the water would flow to this plant, help it get established. It's the sugar sand in this part of Florida, just the water tends to run along the surface of the ground, and so anyway, it possibly helped, but still it's not looking real vigorous. This is an older tree. It's another Tess Pollock originally, and I'm converting it to Seacrest. I planted a lot of Tess Pollock early on because I was charged with preserving the variety, and Tess Pollock was a friend of mine, and her son named this particular variety after her. So I got probably 2/3 of the tree grafted, and so this is one of those areas here, and This sea crust. Here's another one. Again, near the cuts, the part of the branch there. Help the wound heal. This one did not take up here. And so I'm trying again down below. There's some more. This one looks like it's going to take. It's nice and green. That's very fresh, too early to tell. Here's the graft on this one. Now, Tess pollock just sends out a lot of shoots from its woody parts, so I'm constantly having to trim those back so that they don't compete for the resources of the places that I want to actually become branches. But here's a fairly fresh one. This is another instance where the top one did not take. You can feel it's brittle here, very stiff. And this one, you see the little fruit emerge, the little leaves emerging there. And there's this one has taken, but yeah, so basically it's well on its way. Here's a Florigon. Anything that's yellow is on its way out, so I'll just take those off. There's, looks like quite a bit of fruit set. And here's another Duncan. Meme sapote. Some looks like little flowers emerging there. Jakarta. A lot of fruit for a relatively small tree. Lemon meringue. Small fruit, except for a little bit of large fruit on the north side of the tree. Nam Dak Mai. And Florigon. Have this one lower branch. Has a lot of the large fruit. And small fruit at the top of the tree. So this is a Hayden tree. These trees are at least 80 years old, right along the front fence line. Way too tall, so last year we trimmed very seriously on 2 of the trees, leaving the other ones for production. Here's a seedling of Hayden, which has become a small tree, and I grafted Ugly Betty onto it. Another one of the new varieties. Here's one of the larger Haydens in this grouping. It's been trimmed also. These trees used to be double the size that they are now and visible from a mile down the road, but they're look sort of a regular large size now. Here's one of the ones that we trimmed back, but needs to be trimmed back again. If we can't reach the fruit with a pole picker, it's too big. Another one of the larger Haydens. Thanks for joining me on this early morning walkabout tour. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and have a great day.